Good day, everyone. Today, we will discuss Lesson 8 and 9. The first topic of Lesson 8 is managing voluntary and involuntary turnover. Turnover refers to any time a current employee leaves the company and is replaced by someone new. It is the measurement of the number of employees who leave an organization during a specified time period, typically 1 year. While an organization usually measures the total number of employees who leave, turnover can also apply to subcategories within an organization, like individual departments or demographic groups. There are two types of turnover: involuntary and voluntary. Let's first talk about involuntary turnover. What is involuntary turnover? Involuntary turnover is when an employer chooses to terminate an employee or remove them permanently from their groups in question, possibly because of poor performance, toxic behavior, or other reasons. One of the main causes of involuntary turnover is that new employees do not digest and apply the training they are given in a satisfactory manner. Aptitude and skills tests can predict learning ability and the likelihood that an applicant will successfully complete training. Next is voluntary turnover. Voluntary turnover is an instance when an employee actively chooses to leave. This can happen as a result of better job opportunities elsewhere, conflict with the workplace, disengagement, and more. Employees might choose to vacate their jobs for a variety of reasons. They may feel dissatisfied with their positions or compensation, they may be seeking a career change, or they may have accepted another offer. Next topic is principles of justice. Under this topic is non-complete cause. It means if an employee is terminated or voluntarily leave their job, this person cannot seek employment at the firm in the same industry. Non-compete agreements are enforced when a relationship between the employer and employee ends, and an employer wishes to prevent the employee by competing against them in their next position, whether working for a competitor in the same industry or starting up another business in the same field. These agreements also prohibit the employee from proprietary information or secrets to any other parties during and after employment. Often are subject to non-compete clauses, consultants and independent contractors who terminate the relationship to the companies to avoid competition after the separation. How does a non-compete agreement works? Non-compete agreements overall should be both fair and equitable for all parties. They require certain information to be considered enforceable. First, an efficient date on which the agreement will begin. Second, a reason for enacting the agreement. Third is specific dates when an employee will be barred from working in a competitive sense and the location covered by the agreement. The last is details on how the non-competing party will be compensated for agreeing to the terms. Next is outcome justice and procedural and interactional justice. Outcome justice focuses on the end, while procedural and interactional justice focuses on the mean. Procedural justice is the appropriateness of allocation process. It includes 6 main points, which are consistency, lack of bias, accuracy, representation of all concerned, correction, and ethics. Procedural justice seems to be essential to maintaining institutional legitimacy. Procedural justice deals with how the decision was made, while interactional justice refers to the interpersonal nature of how the outcomes were implemented. A sociologist, John R. Schermerhorn, defined interactional justice as the degree to which the people are affected by the decision are treated by dignity and respect. At the various points in the discipline process, the individual or the organization might want to bring in outside parties to help resolve discrepancies or conflicts. As a last resort, the individual might invoke the legal system to resolve this type of conflicts, but in order to avoid this, more and more companies are turning to alternative dispute resolution or ADR. There are 4 steps in ADR. Stage 1 is open door policy. Open door policy means every manager's door is open to every employee. The purpose is to encourage open communication, feedback, and discussion of any matter of importance to an employee. Employees can take their workplace concern, questions, or suggestions outside their own chain of command without worrying. Companies adopt an open door policy to develop employee trust and to make sure important information and feedback reach managers who can use it to make changes and improvements. An open door policy is usually communicated in the employee's handbook. Second stage is peer review. Peer review is a panel composed of representatives from the organization that are the same level of those people in the dispute, hears the case and attempts to help the parties arrive at a settlement. Third is mediation. A neutral third party from outside the organization hears the case and via a non-binding process tries to help the disputants to arrive at a settlement. The dispute may either be pending in a court or potentially a dispute which may be filed in court. The last is arbitration. Arbitration refers to alternative dispute resolution where the two parties agree not to take their dispute to the court. Instead, they agree to resolve the dispute by hiring an arbitrator to hear both sides. Arbitration is the most formal alternative for litigation or lawsuit. Next is Employee Assistance Programs or EAP. EAP are work-based intervention programs, often part of an employee's benefit package, designed to identify and assist employees in resolving personal problems such as marital, financial, emotional, or family issues that may be adversely affecting the employee's performance. It is a referral service that employees and supervisors can use to seek professional treatment for various problems. The scope will vary from company to company, but here are some examples of things employee assistance program can support: substance abuse, occupational stress or burnout, post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, anxiety, depression, and family problems such as divorce or domestic violence.
Behavior change. Sometimes employees think that one way to solve his dissatisfaction is to make actions to solve the causes of that. And at times this can lead to conflict between employees. For a manager, this form of dispute can seem a threatening problem in the organization, but this can also be a way for him to learn and solve an important issue. It is also important in the organization to have a leader that can voice out opportunities for lower level employees so they can prevent turnover among the employees. It also shows inclusivity and equality among the employees in the organization. Whistleblowing is also one way for the employees to make changes by stating their grievances and concerns outside of the company to the public or the media. Philippine 7 Corporation is one of the corporations in our country that has a whistleblowing page on their website, which allows their stakeholders to anonymously report severe cases of misconduct in the business, such as sharing of company's information in trade, unauthorized solicitation of money and goods, misrepresentation of the company, and unfair dealing. Physical job withdrawal. If an employee experiences an unfair supervision, unpleasant working conditions, lack of job security, and below market pay levels, there is a big chance on the employee to leave his job. And in the organization, it is important to keep the employee satisfied to reduce turnovers and high expenses because it is very costly to replace the employee, especially the high-skilled workers. Psychological withdrawal. So, if in physical job withdrawal, the employee will leave his job literally, in psychological withdrawal, the employee is still in his job, but his mind is already disengaged. That psychological disengagement has two forms. First, it might be from the dissatisfaction with the job, which can cause a low level of job involvement to the employees. The second form is when the dissatisfaction is with the employer. A worker who experiences an unjust treatment from his employer will result to his low level of commitment with the organization. That is why an employer must give their employees a chance to speak up their concerns and give them the opportunity to change a situation that they consider as bad. With this, the work performance of the employees will be improved, which in turn can lead to the achieving the organization goals and eventually attain the success. Job satisfaction is defined as a pleasurable feeling that results from the perception that one's job fulfills or allows for the fulfillment of one's important job values. It is also considered as the level of contentment of an individual towards his job, may it be the job itself or the individual aspect of it. A good example of this is when an employee who receives an annual salary of 45,000 believes that he or she should receive a salary of 43,000. He or she will experience satisfaction. However, if the employee believes that he or she should receive 53,000, he or she will feel disappointed. There are three important aspects of job satisfaction. The first one is job satisfaction is a function of values. It is defined as what a person consciously or unconsciously desires to obtain. For example, one of the goals of an employee is to be promoted as an HR manager. That desire to be promoted contributes to his satisfaction with the job. Second is that different employees have different views of which values are important. This is critical to determine the nature and degree of their job satisfaction. For example, there are two employees in a company. Employee A is incredibly passionate about his work because it was his dream job since he was a child. On the other hand, Employee B only works for the job because of wage satisfaction. So both are employees, but have different views on which they value in their job. The third important aspect of job satisfaction is perception. Individuals' perception may not be fully accurate a representation of reality, and different individuals may perceive the same situation differently. People's experiences, in fact, are also heavily influenced by their frame of reference. Now, let us go to the sources of dissatisfaction. Many aspects of people and organizations can cause dissatisfaction among employees, and for the managers and HR practitioners, they need to be conscious of this because they are the levers that can maximize workplace satisfaction and reduce the withdrawal of workers. Unsafe working conditions. We have this famous quote, better safe than sorry. This also applies in any working environment. An employer should ensure to give his employee a safe and stable working environment so that the employee will be able to perform his job effectively and efficiently. There are also jobs which poses a greater risk, such as fishing boat operators, timber cutters, airline pilots, flight attendants, structural metal workers, garbage collectors, and taxi drivers, which all have been identified as jobs where people are most likely to be involved in fatal accidents. In fact, in these job categories alone, close to 1,000 people die annually.
Personal dispositions. Dissatisfaction is an emotion that ultimately resides within the person. It is not surprising that many who have studied these outcomes have focused on individual differences. Negative affectivity is a term used to describe a dispositional dimension that reflects pervasive differences in satisfaction with any and all aspects of life. People who are high in negative affectivity tend to focus extensively on negative aspects of themselves and others. They also tend to persist in their negative attitudes even in the face of organizational interventions, such as increased pay levels, that generally increase the levels of satisfaction of other people. Tasks and roles. As a predictor of job satisfaction, nothing surpasses the nature of the task itself. There are three primary aspects of tasks that affect job satisfaction, and these are the complexity of the task, the amount of flexibility in where and when the work is done, and the value that the employee puts on the task. With a few exceptions, there is a strong positive relationship between task complexity and job satisfaction. That is, the boredom generated by simple, repetitive jobs that do not mentally challenge the worker leads to frustration and dissatisfaction. Supervisors and coworkers. These are the two sets of people in an organization who affect job satisfaction. A person may be satisfied with their supervisor for a reason. It may be that the employees see their supervisor as having more. That is, genuinely caring about the worker and respecting them as a person. Pay and benefits. For most people, work is their primary source of income and financial security. Because of this, pay is seen as an indicator of status with the organization as well as in society at large. Thus, for some people, pay is a reflection of self-worth. So, pay satisfaction takes on critical significance when it comes to retention. Measuring and monitoring job satisfaction. Most attempts to measure job satisfaction rely on workers' self-reports. In some cases, organizations want to measure their employee satisfaction with aspects of their work that are specific to that organization. One standardized, widely used measure of job satisfaction is the Job Descriptive Index, or JDI. The JDI emphasizes various facets of satisfaction, such as pay, the work itself, supervision, co-workers, and promotions. Another one is the Pay Satisfaction Questionnaire, or the PSQ. The PSQ focuses more on specific dimensions, such as pay levels, benefits, pay structures, and pay raises. Thus, this measure gives a more detailed view of exactly what aspects of pay are the most or least satisfying. And that would be all for this topic. Thank you so much for listening.
Now, let's go to Lesson 9. Pay structure decisions. From the employer's point of view, pay is a powerful tool for furthering the organization's strategic goals. First, pay has a large impact on employees' attitudes and behaviors. Pay can also be a powerful motivational tool for aligning current employees' interests with those with the broader organization. Second, employee compensation is typically a significant organizational cost and thus requires close scrutiny. Salary level decisions can be broken into two parts: pay structure and individual pay. Pay structure is a system that defines what each individual in job role is paid based upon their value to the business and effectiveness in their role. Next is pay level. Pay level is an average pay of jobs in an organization. It is a fundamental unit in compensation structure of an organization, which is used to denote difference in compensation due to smallest possible change in job specification. Equity theory suggests that people evaluate the fairness of their situations by comparing them with those of other people. Equal pay for two workers with unequal contributions would likely be perceived as unfair. Remember that equity and equality is not the same. Equality focuses on the same starting line for everyone, while equity has the goal of providing everyone with the full range of opportunities and benefits, or the same finish line. There are two types of employee social comparison of pay. The first is external equity. External equity refers to the situation in which employees and the company receives pay that is fair, when it is compared to the pay of employees in other companies who do the same job. Second is internal equity. In internal equity, employees make comparisons with lower level jobs, jobs at the same level, and jobs at higher levels. Employees should perceive that they are paid fairly compared to their coworkers. Otherwise, they may feel unwanted and leave. Now let's proceed to topic 2, developing pay levels. In product market competition, organizations must be able to sell their goods and services at a quantity and a price that will bring sufficient return in their investment. An organization who has higher labor costs than its product market competitors will have to charge higher average prices for products of similar quality. Next is labor market competition. Labor market is the term that is used by economy for all different markets of labor. There is no single labor market. Rather, there are different types of markets for every different kinds of labor. Labor differs from type of work, skill level, and location. While each labor market is different, they all tend to operate in similar ways. For example, when wages go up on one labor market, they tend to go up in others too. A perfectly competitive labor market is a composite of many firms that are in competition for workers. Firms that have no power to set wages, the market determines a competitive wage. If a firm deviates from this wage, it either pays less and loses workers, or pays more, sustains losses, and exits the market. If an organization is not competitive in labor market, it will fail to attract and retain employees of sufficient numbers and quality. Last is employees as a resource. Organizations should consider their employees not just a cost, but a resource in which the organization has invested and from which it expects valuable returns. In order to maximize productivity and grow as a business, it is essential that managements are fully aware of the capabilities of their number one asset, which is the employees. Employees are the ones who get the job done. They know the organization and especially how their specific team works best. They know that methodologies and tools help them get their projects completed quickly and effectively. Your company cannot be successful without productive employees. So yes, employees are resources and valuable resources at that.
Deciding what to pay. In deciding the pay level of the employees in an organization, it is important to have a strategic decision whether to pay above or below the market average. The benefit of paying above the industry average is the opportunity to recruit and maintain the best available talent and help create positive job attitudes, both of which can translate into a highly efficient and profitable workforce. Most employees are attracted to high-wage jobs because of the benefits such as their consuming power will increase and improve their work productivity. However, the disadvantage of this is the added cost. Efficiency wage theory. It advocates paying your employees higher than the market wage for the role. The term was first used by Alfred Marshall to describe the wage a firm would pay a worker to increase their work productivity, such that the firm was indifferent between the low efficiency worker and the high efficiency worker. The idea of this is that increasing wages will lead to improved labor productivity because workers are more motivated to work with higher wages. Thus, if companies increase salaries, some or all the high wage costs can be recovered by improved retention of workers and higher efficiency of labor. Market pay surveys. So, in market pay survey, there is what we call benchmarking. It is a procedure in which an organization compares its own practices against those of the competition. Usually, it is used to compete for talent, and benchmarking can allow organizations to gain an independent perspective about how well their organization perform compared to other companies. And it also drills down the performance gaps to identify areas for improvement and monitor the company's performance and manage change. Pay surveys. It provides information on going rates of pay among competing organizations. It is also a great way for companies who are planning to add a new position in their organization to conduct pay surveys so that they will have an idea of the possible rates of the position from their other competitors. And here are some of the questions used in the survey. Number one, which employers should be included in the survey? Ideally, they would be the key labor market and product market competitors. Number two, which jobs are included in the survey? Because only a sample of jobs is ordinarily used, care must be taken that the jobs are representative in terms of level, functional area, and product market. Also, the job content must be sufficiently similar. Number three, if multiple surveys are used, how are all the rates of pay weighted and combined? Organizations often have to weight and combine pay rates because different surveys are often tailored toward a particular employee groups or product markets. The organization must decide how much relative weight to give to its labor market and product market competitors in setting pay. Rate ranges. The use of rate ranges permits a company to recognize differences in employee performance, seniority, training, and so forth in setting individual pay. Deciding the rate of a market pay is not an easy task, and it is critical that employers have rational explanations for why they pay their employees a certain rate. The range usually allows for differences in education, experience, or performance. However, employees in the same type of job know they earn pay that is relatively similar to colleagues. Now, I'm gonna talk about the key jobs and the non-key jobs. The key jobs have relatively stable content and perhaps most important or common to many organizations. It means that this job has a standard and consistent set of responsibilities from one organization to another, and for which data is available in valid and reliable salary surveys. Some example of these is the office manager, HR manager, security, secretarial, accounting that may be easily found and data are readily available. On the other hand, the non-key jobs are the jobs that are unique to organizations and have content different from jobs in other organizations having the same title. These jobs do not have available salary survey that are valid and reliable. They could be jobs that simply cannot be accurately matched to comparable positions in published surveys. The examples are industrial engineer, compensation analyst, chief scientist, and director of personnel. Developing a job structure. So what is a job structure? A job structure can be defined as the relative worth of various jobs in the organization based on these types of internal comparisons. This also includes well-defined roles and responsibilities and required knowledge, skills, and experience for each job within an organization. When an entity grows larger and more complicated, or when it is already large and complex, there are considerable benefits to having a standardized job structure. First, it provides the platform for developing a compensation and benefits structure. Number two is it provides foundation for individual performance management. And last, it complements the organization's career development system. Job evaluation. A job evaluation system is composed of compensable factors and a weighting scheme based on the importance of each compensable factor to the organization. The purpose of the job evaluation is to assess which workers should be paying more than the others. Several approaches, such as job ranking and factor comparison, are used in the job evaluation. And research shows that each approach is just as accurate and effective as the other in the ranking and pricing of different workers. Three-point factor system is an approach that identifies job factors that add value and worth to a position. The job factors are separated into groups, such as skill, responsibility, and effort, and assigned a numerical or weighted point value. The points for individual factors are added up to get a point value for the whole job. In this approach, it has its own pros and cons. The pros are the value of the job is expressed in monetary terms. It can be applied to a wide range of jobs, and it can also be applied to newly created jobs. On the other hand, the cons of this approach are the pay of it for each factor is based on judgments that are subjective, and the standard used for determining the pay for each factor may have built-in biases that would affect certain groups of employees, such as females or minorities. Weights can be generated in two ways. First is the priori weights that can be assigned, meaning factors are weighted using expert judgments about the importance of each compensable factor. The second one is the weights can be derived empirically based on how important each factor seems in determining pay in the labor market. In developing pay structure, it is important to note that both internal and external comparisons must be considered in making compensation decisions. However, because the pay structures are suggested, internal and external comparisons do not necessarily converge. That is why employers must carefully balance them. Studies suggest that employers may differ significantly in the degree to which they place priority on internal or external comparison data in developing pay structures. So the next table shows a job evaluation and pay survey data. It consists of job title, a classification whether it is a key job or a non-key job, job evaluation, which is the total of combined compensable factors, data of survey 1 and 2, and the survey composite. Here, you will also recognize that the non-key jobs do not have a survey data, because as I said earlier, these jobs do not have a reliable and available salary survey data. And to get the survey composite of each job, we need to get the 2/3 of survey 1 plus the 1/3 of survey 2. For example, computer tech. In survey 1, it has 3,219, which the 2/3 of it is 2,146, while on survey 2, the 1/3 of 2,770 is 924. Then, if we add 2,146 and 924, it will result to 3,070. Here you will also see that the Director of Engineering has the highest value in job evaluation, which means it has the highest salary in all the job. Market survey data. The approach with the greatest emphasis on external comparisons is achieved by directly basing pay on market surveys that cover as many key jobs as possible. For example, the rate of pay for job A in Table 9.2 would be $3,070, for job B, $3,370, and for job C, $4,491. For non-key jobs, such as jobs D, E, H, M, and O, however, pay survey information is not available, and we must proceed differently. Basically, we developed a market pay policy line based on the key jobs, for which there are both job evaluation and market pay survey data available.
Pay policy line. This is used to derive pay rates for both key and non-key jobs. This introduces a greater degree of internal consistency into the structure because the pay of all jobs is directly linked to the number of job evaluation points. Pay grades. Each job within a grade would have the same rate range. Its advantage is that the administrative assigned in setting separate rates of pay for different jobs is reduced. It also permits greater flexibility in moving employees from job to job without raising concerns. Importance of process. There are two processes involved in this topic: communication and participation. Participation. Participation in the decision-making process gives each employee the opportunity to voice their opinions and to share their knowledge with others. While this improves the relationship between manager and employee, it also encourages a strong sense of teamwork among workers. It is important to distinguish between participation by those affected by policies and those who must actually implement the policies. Communication. Communication plays a vital role in any organization. This helps an organization to provide great customer experience, which in turn increases the efficiency in their work. In a certain study, it details the importance of communication among the employees. In the study, two units received 15% across the board pay cuts. The reason for the pay cuts were communicated in different ways between the two units. In one, where an adequate explanation was made, they provided the group with a significant amount of information on explaining the reasons of the pay cuts, and certain reactions were made. While in the other unit, an inadequate explanation happened, which made them receive much less information and no reaction. Problems with job-based pay structures. Job-based pay structures may have a number of potential limitations. First, they may encourage bureaucracy. Job description sets out specific tasks and activities for which the employee would be responsible for. Although this facilitates performance evaluation and control by the manager, it might also encourage lack of flexibility and lack of initiative on the part of the employees. Second, the structure's hierarchical nature reinforces a top-down decision-making and information flow as well as status differentials. This does not let the employee into taking advantage of the skills and knowledge of those closest to production. Third, the bureaucracy required to generate and update job descriptions and job evaluations can become a barrier to change. This is because wholesale changes to job descriptions can involve a huge amount of time and money. Fourth, the job-based pay structure may not reward desired behaviors. This is more particular in rapidly changing environment where the knowledge, skills, and abilities needed right now may not be very helpful in the near future. Fifth, The emphasis on job levels and status differentials encourages promotion seeking behavior but may discourage lateral employee movement. Employees are reluctant to accept jobs that are not promotions or that appear to be steps down. Responses to problems with job based pay structures. Delayering is the reducing of the number of job levels to achieve more flexibility in job assignments and in assigning merit increases, while broadbands are the broader groupings of jobs. One possible disadvantage for delayering and banding is a reduced opportunity for promotion. Therefore, organizations need to consider what they will offer for employees instead. Paying the person. A related response to job-based pay structure problems has been to move away from linking pay jobs and toward building structures based on individual characteristics such as skill or knowledge. Competency-based pay. This usually refers to a plan that covers exempt employees, such as managers. The basic idea of this is that you want employees to learn more skills and become more flexible in the jobs they perform. You should pay them to do it. Skill based pay. This is a system that fits well with the increased knowledge of a skill that changing technology continues to bring. For example, in a production environment, workers might be expected not only to operate machines, but also to take responsibility for maintenance and troubleshooting, quality control, and even modifying computer programs. And that will be all for this report. Thank you so much for listening.